And now with us in the studio is journalist Carolyn Robinson, who's lived in Beirut and across the Middle East. Carolyn, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Give us the background to this unfolding crisis in Lebanon. What's the history behind it?
I think Rami Houri touched on that very well. These tensions do go back decades and even longer. And Lebanon has always been a kind of a proxy playing field for everyone to fight out their own internecine battles. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we moved to Worcester, Ohio. And so for me, that was going from a kind of a suburban environment to a small town in the middle of cornfields in Ohio. And I was not especially happy about this, but I was encouraged because there's a college there, the College of Worcester. It's a missionary school, and there's people from all over the world there. So when I was growing up, there'd be people with, you know, African dashikis and Indian saris and all kinds of people wearing interesting things and doing interesting things. So I began to realize there was a rest of the world outside of the cornfields. So, but the daily newspaper always disappointed me somehow. I never felt like I was really getting the full story. So that was the kind of thing that made me start wanting to get into journalism, because it's like, wait a minute, I know there's a bigger world out here, and I'm just not satisfied that the newspaper was telling me, you know, the whole story.
Robinson began her journalism career with CNN in 1987, producing live news broadcasts for Headline News for 5 years before embarking as a senior producer in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Robinson's previous experiences include working for Al Jazeera, Reuters, APTN, and AP Radio.
So I arrived in Beirut, and I didn't want to tell people I was American, but I didn't want to lie either. So my most recent assignment before that had been in East Timor, which is in Southeast Asia, once part of Indonesia. So when I would get into a taxi cab and say, the taxi driver would say, "Where are you from?" I would say, "I'm from East Timor," because I had come from East Timor. So, but the problem was, of course, that, you know, nobody knew where that was, so they'd kind of go, okay, and then that was the end of the conversation. After a few months of this, though, I felt like it was going to be too much to keep on going on like that. So one time I got in the cab, and the taxi driver said, I said, yeah, I was from East Timor. And he said, "That's funny, you don't look Indonesian." You know, and I thought, I have to stop saying this. And so the next time I got in the taxi, and the taxi driver said to me, "Where are you from?" And I thought, okay, here we go. I'm just going to say it. "I'm from America. I'm American." He goes, "You're welcome in Lebanon. Welcome to Lebanon." And I went, oh, okay, seemed pretty good, right? So then I started getting braver. I would try with different people. And I went up to the counter at a store, and "Where are you from?" And, "Oh, I'm American." "Oh, welcome to Lebanon. You're welcome in this country." And the more that I said it, the more I heard it. In Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, it didn't matter where I went. You're welcome here. You're welcome in this country. So I was going to the airport to pick up our trainer from Sudan, who was coming in from Egypt, from Cairo. And all of a sudden I noticed, my assistant was driving, and I saw some cars go past with anti-aircraft, big giant machine gun type things. Now that wasn't unusual in itself, and in fact I went, "Oh, there's one of those, I want to get a picture of that." Because it happened all the time. So, you know, and I tried to get my camera, I couldn't get it fast enough, and we were laughing like, "Oh, I'm sure there'll be another one, ha ha ha." You know, and then I went, "Oh yeah, look, there's another one. Oh, there's two together. Cool shot, right?" And so it's like, "Oh, there's 3, there's 5, there's 10, there's 12, there's 25. Suddenly we were in the middle of a convoy that was going to the airport to take the airport back. We ran in to get our trainer, and I was like, "Please, Egypt Air, be on time, please, just once, please be on time." And it was, and we went through, and I got way past security and found our trainer and went, "Come on, we gotta go, there's some problems." And so we got him out and got back to the car, jumped in the car, drove back. They were massing on the other side, and we managed to get through them. So it was fine. Nothing happened. Later on that day, they started shooting at the airport. But at that point in time, we were lucky, so we got through it. So. I met Ramos Horta before East Timor was freed, and he made a huge impression on me. He was a freedom fighter, basically, and he had been fighting for 24 years for democracy. And through his connections, I began meeting other people that were working for the struggle to get Indonesia out of East Timor.
Robinson arrived in the newly independent East Timor shortly after Indonesian militias had terrorized it. Sponsored by the United Nations, she developed a journalism school with the intent to help build democracy within the nation. Currently, Robinson is a professor at the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication at Washington State University.
I have this thing that I like to do every 5 years or so, which is to take an empty journal and start imagining the things that I'd like to do next. So my plan is, and this has happened more than once for me, is to take this empty journal and just start writing anything, the craziest thing it does. There's no rules, anything that comes to my head, like just for 10 minutes, let's say, and write it down and keep writing every day, a few sentences, maybe a few paragraphs, what I want to do. And as you write, things start kind of shaping itself in a way that if I just thought about it, it would not really work. So, and like I said, the rules are anything. Like, I mean, there was one time when I was writing something, I don't even know what came into my head. I thought, oh, dancing, maybe I could, I don't know, be a ballerina or something. I mean, hello, but the rule was no restrictions, write anything. So gradually, it kind of shaped and moved around, and my rule was whatever was at the end of the journal was what I was going to do. So it might take a few months to do, but I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. It's like, oh, I'm getting close to the end, and and then I would kind of look at it and say, okay, well, I see a theme here, and this time around it was education. So, and I had also gone to Algeria with a group of professors who talked to me about it and said that, I should really start thinking about this. It'd be a good thing for me. So that plus the journal, I came to the end of the journal, it's like, okay, it's education.
We have a power that can't be found in Molotov cocktails, but we do have a power that cannot be found in bullets and in guns, but we have a power.
Remember, in 1978, I was 14 years old, 8th grade, just after the winter break and looking for something to watch on Sunday night before going back to school the next day. And this movie come on, and I got very interested in it. And it just changed my life, changed my perspective. I remember just being blown away.
Washington State University professor Dr. Charles Weller found inspiration at a young age from Martin Luther King. He has studied and researched in various countries abroad.
I haven't been to Africa yet. And I haven't been to Latin America. I've been to Mexico. So I've been to Mexico, I've been to Canada, I've been to London, I've been to Amsterdam, I've been in Italy for just a brief stint, and then I've been in Moscow, been in Siberia, been in Kyrgyzstan and in Uzbekistan, and then I've been in Pakistan for a few days, and Turkey, visited down there. I've been in Thailand, Japan, Korea. Am I missing anywhere along the way?
Weller faced various cultural obstacles while studying in Kazakhstan from locals and academic members.
So from the Russian-American side, you had some of these tensions that were there and suspicions that I definitely felt and encountered, and also from the Muslim Western Islamic Western relations that we had, Middle Eastern, Central Asian as well that we had, and especially when I was there in the War on Terror. I mean, it was right at the height, in the heat of the War on Terror, and specifically the war in Iraq had just begun when I was there from 2002 to 2006 in my last session in Kazakhstan. And so that was a definite twist that affected relations. I got chewed out a couple times by some professors and others that didn't even know me. They didn't even know who I was. All they knew that I was American.
To avoid feeling like a foreigner, Weller managed to learn both Kazakh and Japanese.
Learning the language is key. I mean, learning the language and the culture and showing that you're respectful, showing that you're willing to do what it takes to understand them, to do your best to live like them, and so you don't stand out as much. And I think that was one of the things that helped over in that context, was because there was such a large presence of European, Russian, European people already there. I didn't stand out as much. For instance, in Japan, I stood out like a cucumber in a tomato patch, right? Probably being out and having a great celebration out in the field, in the open. We'd just go out with, we had 100 people or so from the village group that I was in, and for one of the holidays, I forget, we did it regularly, so I don't know if I would remember one in particular, but I love doing those. I love getting out with playing the games out there, and they'd cook up the meal in the big pot, and they'd actually sacrifice the lamb right there in the Muslim style, dedicated unto God, and they would, do the lamb right there and then prepare it up and cook up the meal and stuff, and we'd by the stream, and so those were very good memories, playing volleyball and soccer and other stuff like that. I teach a lot of Gen Ed, as they call it, classes as it were, which means that I get required attendance, and so I would say it's a challenge, and I don't know, it's the hardest part, but it's the challenge to stimulate the interest in the class when you get a number of students, not all, but you get a number of students, just the facts of life. That's just the way it goes in this kind of setting like that. With any university education, you have those classes. But that they come in saying, I don't want to take this class, well, I have to take this class, this isn't what I really wanted to do, et cetera, this is a forced requirement, et cetera. And to address that and to stimulate the interest in things, and again, it's gone well. And I've loved to see, and I do think it's all an approach and attitude and things like that.
I feel like people don't dream big enough sometimes. I feel like people have small goals for themselves. And maybe that's what people want, but sometimes I think that's been imposed by others. And if you have something that's a big dream, why not follow it? It's, it's life. You only have one chance, and might as well follow it through, right? So that's how I feel anyway, and that's what I wish for all my students.
And have the best quality life, the most fulfilling life that they can have, not only for themselves, but for this world, contributing to this world to its benefit, whether in a small way or a big way, who knows.
I got all these baskets in East Timor, and it's not that I was so interested in baskets, but there was really nothing else to get in East Timor at that time. It was a very destroyed country when I got there. It was just after the vote for independence in Indonesia had burned down the countryside, so there was really nothing.